Hi there, this is Justin Krane, Certified Financial Planner Professional and founder of Krane Financial Solutions. Welcome to Money You Got This. So how can you really live? How? By uniting your business money, your personal money with your life and your business. Word up.
Krane Financial is an SEC-registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only, and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products.
Hey everyone, welcome to Money You Got This. The show is brought to you by Krane Financial Solutions. I'm Justin Krane. I'm a certified financial planner professional. I offer investment management services and act as a fractional CFO to business executives. I'm also the author of the book, Money You Got This. I'm psyched you're listening to the show. I want to give you this free report, 3 things multimillionaires do to grow their wealth. Just go to coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. That's coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. Thanks. And today I have a great guest on. His name is Michael Roderick. I've known Michael for, I don't know, maybe 10 years, 5-10 years. This guy is insane. We tried going live on Facebook. He was so big that he broke Facebook and we couldn't get it to work doing Facebook Live. So Michael, who is Michael? Michael, I think you started out in Broadway. Is that right?
Yeah, I actually started out as a high school English teacher.
Right. High school English teacher to successful Broadway playwright and director, right? And now, and producer, and now is, I'm just going to say a consultant. But guys, when you hear that word, don't like wimp out and be like, oh, he is one of the brightest people that I know. I read his daily email religiously. He's that good. And I'm a New Yorker. And I don't even live in New York. Michael does. He's up, like you're up by in Harlem, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's great. And I want to welcome you to the show. And I just think you're awesome. You are super bright. And let's just get right into it.
Thanks.
Actually, hold on. I got to read your bio. So enamored by you. So Michael works with his clients to curate, extend, and leverage their existing networks for the purpose of getting higher paid engagements, speaking opportunities, and becoming thought leaders in their industry. He offers coaching services to clients who want to just change their game, up-level their thinking, invest back into their community, create success. And he does this by really teaching people how to create referable brands and really elevate themselves in their industry. So Michael, welcome to Money You Got This / not a Facebook Live.
Thanks so much for having me, Justin. I'm excited to be here.
So what exactly is a referable brand? Let's start with that.
Sure. So basically, what we've noticed, what we've seen kind of over the years is that everybody started teaching people how to be different. Right. So the main driver of business was the idea of like stand out, be different from the competition and all these different types of things. But the problem is because everybody started teaching people formulas about how to be different, everybody's different now starts to sound the same. So what you're seeing is you're seeing just a lot of the same content, a lot of the same material out there. And it's not cutting through the noise anymore. So the one thing that does cut through the noise is referability. So when you have a referable brand, people talk about you when you're not in the room. You no longer have to be there because your ideas and your concepts are so embedded in their brain that it's like a jingle from a TV show that you just like can't get out of your head. And that's what I focus on when I look at the idea of the referable brand, really helping people who usually deprioritize packaging their intellectual property, where it's like they haven't taken the time to really break it down and say like, how do I make this super easy for people to get and share with others? I help them figure out that particular side of the puzzle.
Let me ask you this: would you prefer to work with people that actually are aware that they can have a referable brand, or that first need to get convinced that like they should prioritize the fact that they need to have a referable brand. Because I think a lot of people out there don't view themselves as a brand. And there's a lot of front end mishigas that has to take place when you're trying to get people to like see themselves as like, I don't know, someone that's important.
Yeah, I mean that's a really great question, and I think that the interesting side of it is that the answer is kind of it depends, right? Because there are some people who have the desire to have a personal brand where they want it to be about them, and then there are some people who actually have no desire to have a personal brand, but they want their ideas to be out in the world. So the metaphor I often use is that everybody kind of makes the choice of, are you going to be the wizard, or are you going to be the man or the woman behind the curtain? And if you decide to be the wizard, you are making what I like to refer to as the Faustian bargain of the personal brand, which is, if it is your personality, if it is you, if the brand is you, if it's your name, then all of that is up for grabs if you attain any level of fame, right? You end up dealing with the same challenges that a celebrity would have if you decide to go that particular direction. Conversely, if you basically take your ideas and put your ideas out into the world, and you're just the person kind of behind those ideas, then your personal brand it's there, but it's not the front runner. So you don't have to necessarily worry about am I always on Facebook Live? Is my face always out there? Am I always taking the selfies and like all of those types of things? So people do have a choice, which I think a lot of folks don't realize when they think about the idea of a brand. They think that it means that they have to have a personal brand, they have to be big, they have to be out there. But there are people who they're known for their ideas more than their personality or the individual.
So I think you're known for your ideas. Not to say that you don't have this cool, awesome image, but you're known for your ideas. And I literally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have nine of your ideas that I want to talk with you about. I guess you're known for your ideas. At least according to me. So I wanted to get back to so can people do this on their own? Literally, you can't, like, if you're a dentist, you can't get your own teeth cleaned and, you can't fill your own cavities. But a lot of people try and do this on their own, including me, and realize that you can't. You got to bring in outside people because you can't see the hump on your own back. And most of us don't even get into business to be a branding expert. We got into business to do something else. So what do you think about that? Like, can people do this stuff on their own, or can they do part of it on their own, or what?
Yeah. So you can answer the me message on your own, right? Where basically you're looking at, like, who are you? What are you about? Like, what do you want to do in the world? Like, you can answer those questions on your own. But in order to get to the macro message, which is, why should your ideas be in the world? What is the value that you're providing? You need an outside eye, because you're too close to what it is that you offer. So if you're really good at what you do, there's a bunch of things that to you feel boring or feel like everybody should know this. And very, very often when you actually explain that thing that seems like common sense to you, everybody else is sort of telling you that it's brilliant, right? And they're like, I've never seen anything like this. I've never thought about anything like this. So you can do the internal work of sort of figuring out like what you're about and what you want to put out into the world. But you need feedback. You need people to basically tell you what they're seeing in order to really know where the value is. And that's where bringing in outside sources, outside eyes, whether it be coaches, consultants, is so valuable, because the metaphor that I like to use is that your face is pressed up against the TV screen. So all you're able to see right now are colored pixels when it comes to your business. So you need somebody behind you to tell you what's on TV, and most importantly, to tell you if you need to change the channel. Because there are a lot of people who think that they should be serving a particular market because it's what they want. But the offer that they have, the thing that they're putting out there, is actually not a fit for that market, or not as attractive for that market as it would be for another market. But you don't know until you start to explore, like, what is that actual value? And I often will tell people, it's not about what you do, it's about what you do for others, right? It's about the service that you're providing. So if you're not clear on the transformation that you're making for people, the thing that you're doing that's causing their lives to be better, to help them become that better future version of themselves, then you are going to be in a place where you're constantly trying to convince people of your value, as opposed to literally just showing them it, because you're very, very clear on what you actually have to offer.
Pick a city anywhere in the U.S.
City anywhere in the U.S.?
Yes.
Man, I'm going to say, I'm from Rhode Island, so I'm going to say Providence.
Okay, so you're from there. Okay, that's not good. I need somewhere that you're not from, where you're like you're just a random.
Okay.
City.
Cincinnati.
All right, so guys, if you picked up Michael and moved him to Cincinnati, where he knew no one, I am willing to bet you $1 million that he would be one of the top 10 influencers in Cincinnati. This guy started teaching high school English. He went to Broadway. Now he works with consultants and coaches and entrepreneurs. He knows how to build networks better than anyone I know. And that actually is part of your referable brand. So I want you to, and I know the answer, but I want you to talk a little bit about, how does someone build a network, whether it's in the coronavirus drama or not? How does someone build a network?
So in essence, you start by focusing on understanding the people around you, right? So every single person already has, in essence, a network in place, because you've been through other social interactions which have sort of tied people into your life, whether that be schooling that you took, whether it be programs that you did, sports you played, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So in essence, you already have a base of people that you know, and that know you. The next phase of that is to get to understand who those people are, and then what it is that they're looking for, what it is that they're trying to accomplish, and start to figure out how can you help those people achieve the things that they're trying to achieve, right? Because,
I'm sorry to interrupt. That's the whole thing, guys. It's not about you. It's about getting to know your network and asking them, what are you trying to achieve? And then helping them achieve whatever it is that they want. That's it. And that is what Michael does. And that is what he teaches. I'm telling you, you put him in any city, he will do it. But he's in, New York, sequestered with the Corona stuff, and 3 kids, and changing diapers, and has no time and all that. But I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to just really drive home that point. It really is an element of giving.
Yes. And the thing is, if you do that, right, and you're responsible for sort of helping somebody achieve another level in whatever it is that they're doing, that is something that is worth talking about, right? So if somebody's like, how did you get that job? Well, I was introduced by this person. Or, oh, how did you get that opportunity? Oh, this guy introduced me to this podcast host. Whatever it is, like, your name gets bandied around, right, as this person who is threading people together and who is at the center of the success, right? So once you become that person who people are like, oh, that's the person that I need to talk to, then what happens is you start to have people who are introducing other people to you, right? So now you start to get a group of people who want to meet you, who want to connect with you. And this is where it can either go really, really well, or it can go south really, really fast. And the major difference in which direction it goes has to do with how well you curate.
How well you what?
Curate.
Okay.
Curate, yes. Because if you take the time to introduce really solid people to each other, and you take the time to introduce people who are thoughtful like you, who are also thoughtful givers, then what's going to happen is they're going to become a filter for you to know sort of who should be in that circle and who should be out, right? Mm-hmm. But if you sort of just kind of let everybody come in who you get introduced to, and if you have like a bad vibe from them or whatever, like they're still part of your network, they're still part of your circle, you're going to have a lot of challenges, because then people aren't going to trust the introductions that you make.
Yeah.
And it just sort of cuts things down again and again and again. So it's your job to vet the people that you're meeting and make sure that they are also in this thoughtful kind of giver place. Because if they're not, it's going to reflect on you. Any introductions that you make, anytime you're sort of hanging around, like people look at who you're hanging around with, and they'll associate you, with those people.
I want you to expand on this, because I see this a lot and I think it's so important. So as a financial advisor, I work with lots of clients that are not just like coaches and consultants and like internet people. Like, these people are running other businesses, like dentists, maybe advertising agencies, maybe they sell a widget, maybe they're an attorney, maybe they're, I don't know, in marketing, or they're a plumber. Not that I work with plumbers, but I'm trying to drive home the point that anyone can create a network, and everyone should create a network no matter what industry you're in. This is not some like online internet networking spiel. This is for anyone in any business, anyone in any business. That makes me think of your podcast, which is called Access to Anyone. But this is
Access to Anyone, yeah.
This is anyone for any business. Could you just talk about that? Because I think a lot of people sell themselves short and they don't think it applies to them, because they're like, I make widgets. I don't need to network. Sorry, I think you do.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, there is somebody out there who has either accomplished it already or has learned how to accomplish it, that can teach it to you so that it's going to take you significantly less time to accomplish that thing, right? And the way that I like to frame it is that the keys to all the doors that you need open to every issue that you have right now, like if there is a locked door right now, the keys to the doors that you need open are in other people's pockets, right? Other people have those keys. They have those ideas. They have those connections. They have those ways of helping you solve that particular problem. And if we go just all the way back to sort of primitive time, right? We survived in packs. We didn't survive on our own. If we weren't part of a tribe, like, we would die, right? So ultimately, just from a social, from a social standpoint, that is ingrained within us. And if you sort of follow like the lone wolf kind of dynamic of like, I don't need a network, I don't need to, there will come a time in which there will be something that you need. And it will be much much harder to get that thing if you do not have people around you who know what you do and are willing to do things for you, are willing to help you, are willing to support you, in those particular things. And, for folks who sort of get into that place of like, well, I'm all set, right? Like networking's for people who need a job, et cetera.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who basically thought before, we're recording this during, all the coronavirus stuff, right? Like there were people who basically thought that their industry was safe, right? And that they were just going to keep making tons of money in their industry. And for some people, their industry disappeared overnight. And suddenly they can't, they don't have the same clients. They're not able to do the same thing, all this kind of stuff. The ones who have a network of people around them who can support them and who can help them, they're going to bounce back and they're going to do fine. But the people who have nobody to call on, or a very small number of people to call on, they're going to have a lot of trouble trying to get to that next stage.
So we'll do this at the end of the show as well, but I just want to have it right now. Whoever is listening is like, okay, I get this, I'm in. What's the next step? Can they reach out to you and schedule some time with you? Should they read your blog post on blah, 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 or a book, or like, what should they do if they want to go deeper and like, you know what, this guy's completely spot on? What should they do?
Yeah, you can just contact me. I'm pretty open. So I'm on pretty much all the social media channels. My email is just michael@smallpondenterprises.com. Just drop me a line there.
We'll put it in the notes and everything, but I just want to encourage people. Like, I mean, like, I came to New York, like, I don't know, 5 years ago, and I knew you, but I didn't know you that well. But you're like, yeah, let's just go out to dinner. I'm like, okay. You're like, anyone you want to meet? I'm like, oh, at that point I had a women's coaching program as well. And just business owners, like, you brought, I don't know, 7 to 8 people on a small private dinner. Like, I'm like, this is awesome. He really knows how to do things. And that was super cool. And I don't want to say that I was impressed. I want to say that I felt valued and heard and connected. And that's, I think, what people are looking for. So thank you for that. So now people, you can email Michael at smallpondenterprises.com. If you want, just call me or email me and I'll get you in touch with Michael. So there is a lot of talking points that you have that I think are good for people to hear, because it'll help them get to know you. One of which I read just a few days ago that I was like, oh my God. And you really made me think, and I still don't have an answer, but I'm like, geez, I got to make a decision which way I'm going to go on this. Cause like this one really spoke to me. So this was an email, which he writes a daily email. They're very good. I read them pretty much every day, where the subject line was like, are you over, or are you over this, or over whatever, right? And you made the distinction between two words, like, which role are you going to play? Are you going to be the overextenderer, or are you going to be the over deliverer? Can you talk about that?
Sure.
In this coronavirus era, that's really what you were talking about.
Yeah. So basically, everything has shifted because all of a sudden you're not traveling right now, right? So like a lot of the blocks of time that you sort of originally had, where it was like, this is travel time, this is commuting time, like all that kind of stuff is out the window. And you have all these people who in essence are sort of coming online, right? So now you got tons of webinars to be invited to. You've got tons of people emailing you that want to catch up. You have like just this like massive sort of influx of people who want to talk and things that they want to do, right? And in essence, you're going to make a choice between which over you're going to be. So if you decide that you are going to overextend, you're going to try to do it all. You're going to try to meet with everybody. You're going to try to attend everything. You're going to do everything that you can possibly, that you can possibly do. But the problem with that is that if you do overextend, that is actually impossible to do the other over, which is over deliver, right? Because if you're overextended, there's absolutely no way that you can spend the time it takes to really do the solid work for a small group of individuals. And the way that I look at it is that you can either help an extraordinary number of people in a small way, or you can help a small number of people in an extraordinary way. You can't do both, right? Yeah. So there's a decision that has to be made when you're looking at the commitments that are coming, your way, where basically you have to make a decision of, am I going to put myself in this sort of overextended place and try to just do everything and just sort of give it enough, right, to sort of get by? Or am I going to be very, very disciplined and make the decision that only certain people are going to be part of this circle, that there are only going to be certain things that I do, but those things are going to get so much of my thought and my attention and my time that I'm completely over delivering on the promise that I've made. And it's very, very easy for us to sort of look at overextend and be like, oh no, I would never do that, or I'm not, but we're usually not in control of it, because we have this dynamic, we all have this dynamic of like, we think that we can make time, but we really can't. But we're kind of programmed in this, like, we've seen too much material that kind of tells us like, no, you'll make the time. But the fact of the matter is, you can't make time. Like, time is time. Yeah. And you in essence are going to make a decision every single time you do something. You're making a decision as far as what you're doing with that time. And in many cases, it's a trade, right? I'm trading this time for this money, or I'm trading this time for this experience, whatever it is. And what we forget about very, very often is that if we decide to do something, we are not putting the time to do something else. Yeah. Like, there is always something that has to go off the table. So if you come to your inbox, or you come to a particular, list of things, just taking the time to reflect and be like, am I overextending myself, or am I over delivering, can really help you start to figure out where you're going to put your priorities, how you're going to start to say no to things, which is one of the toughest, elements. And there's a framework that I give people. So if anybody's out there and they're thinking about sort of like, how do I get things sent my way and I don't want to turn people down, I feel bad about that kind of thing. I call it the OCG framework. And basically the OCG framework is opportunity, coincidence, gift. So if something comes your way and you can take full advantage of it and really use it, then it is truly an opportunity. It's something that you can do something with. It's something you can over deliver on. It is like, it's top priority. If something comes your way and it's not really top priority, it's not really something that you can over deliver on, you just kind of might do it like a little bit, it's really just a coincidence that person found you, and that they thought of you for that particular gig. But the great thing about that is that you can take that coincidence and you can turn it into a gift for someone else. So there are people within your circle and within your network where this would be a real opportunity for them. And if you're already in that place of you're worried about being overextended, what better way to take something that comes in that is not really going to be a fit, that you're not going to give your best to, and say to that person, you know what, I'm not the right person for this. I think you should interview my friend so-and-so. And then you're coming back to people within your circle and within your network with an offer of value, usually completely out of like in a like surprise and delight dynamic, right? Because you're just going to them and being like, hey, I had this opportunity. It's not really a fit for me. Maybe it's a fit for you.
Yeah, you know, you speak a fair amount about relationship consistency, and this I think would be
Yeah.
an example of that. Like just staying in front of the right people, making sure that you're, you know, you're top of mind and you're good and all of that. Um, maybe talk about that for a few, and then before I forget, I know someone's thinking about this. Like, how do I keep track of all of this? And I know there are apps and tools and all of that, but how should, because you're an idea guy, so how should people think
Yeah.
about keeping track of all of this with this relationship consistency?
Sure, sure. So I'll start with relationship consistency, and basically the idea behind relationship consistency is that consistency is what builds trust. So if somebody basically sees that you are consistent, that you are doing what you say you're going to do, they instantly trust you more, right? And that trust sort of grows over time. So if you want to develop relationship consistency, then you have to make decisions about what you're committing to and how you're going to fulfill on those commitments. And one of the most important aspects of that is making a decision, if you make a commitment, to also make the decision of when the commitment will be fulfilled, and to hold yourself to that, to that fulfillment. So a lot of the time what we tend to do is we make a commitment, but we don't actually map out when that commitment's going to be fulfilled. So then procrastination gets in the way, all sorts of other concerns get in the way, life gets in the way, and all of a sudden we don't do the thing, right? And then we have lost a lot of trust because that person sort of banked on us to do this thing for them, give them this proposal, give them this material, whatever it is, right? So over time, that trust kind of erodes. So it's really, really important for you to, if you are going to make commitments, set the time aside to know when you're going to fulfill on the commitments, because it's very, very easy to basically build a lot of goodwill by making a ton of commitments. But if you are overextending yourself, then what's going to happen is that you're not going to fulfill on those commitments. So you're going to lose trust, and it's not really going to matter that you had done that. And then the worst case scenario is that people will say, yeah, he promised to do such and such, but he didn't do it. Right. And I often say that basically there's two steps to blowing people's minds. And step one is you do what you say you're going to do. And step two is that you do it in a timely manner. And the fact of the matter is, like, there just aren't a lot of people who will say that they'll do something, will do it at the time that they said that they were going to do it, without any sort of need to check in on them, follow up, etc. Right? So if you're the person who follows through on your commitments and you're like a proactive person, you're going to stand out instantly from people. And that's where tracking comes into play, right? So tracking is another aspect of, you have to make a decision as to what relationships are ongoing for you and what relationships are every once in a while you touch base, right? So if you have clients, then you want to make sure that you have an ongoing relationship with those clients, right? If you have past clients, you want to make sure that you have some sort of steady touch base with those people, right? And then if you have referral partners or friends and colleagues or within circles, you want to set time that you can kind of check in and sort of see how things are going with those people. So there's a couple of different things you can do. One, and this is something I always recommend, make a spreadsheet of people that you're making introductions for, that you're connecting with, etc. And you don't have to do all the data entry at once. It's not like you have to be like, okay, here's my entire network. It's like anytime that you're sending an email and having a conversation with somebody, making an introduction, or talking about somebody else, if you just have your spreadsheet open, you just cut and paste that intro, right? And that info on that person. So now you have kind of a list. And then you can look at that list and you can always check and see, like, well, when was the last time I got in touch with that person? Like, what's going on, in their life. The second is find some sort of way to be there without being there. So for me, a daily email basically puts my voice in people's heads that are part of my circle over and over and over again. So I end up remaining sort of top of mind for those people because they're always kind of seeing my name, right? And they're seeing my ideas, they're seeing the stuff that, the stuff that I put out there. And the thing is, not everybody's going to have the time or the interest in creating a daily email, right? But going back to the consistency side of things, if you make a decision to just be consistent, you can accomplish the same thing. So if you say that your email is going to come out weekly and it comes out on a Monday every week, as long as you're consistent with that, you're going to stay in people's heads. So it's not like you have to write daily in order to sort of attain that level of being in people's minds. You can just create a consistency, a particular cadence that people can rely on and sort of count on. In addition to that, there are all of these social channels in which we can leverage our time, right? So if you have a group, if you have a place where people gather to sort of hear about you, then that's a great way to bring people within your network together and give them a chance to talk to each other, right? And give them, some opportunities to hear what you're up to, but also hear what everybody else is up to, and sort of stay, more top of mind. And you do those types of things, you're going to create that consistency in the relationship, because it's not going to feel like, oh, I met you once and I never heard from you again.
Love it. It's a lot, but it's good.
Yeah.
One last topic and then we'll wrap up. And I mean, I could go on and on. It's a really important one for me, and I'm up leveling it this year. And I think it's very timely for a lot of business owners. Client experience. Yes. You've written a lot about that. I've read your stuff on it, and it's very, very intriguing. So we talked a lot about building a network and managing a network and how to stand out. But what about our clients? What about the people that are already paying us? And we want to make sure that they're getting a good experience in working with us. So what do you have to say about that? And what are maybe some mistakes that people are making with their clients?
Yeah, sure. So I think in particular right now, there are a lot of people who are trying to just sort of keep it like business as usual with their clients, right? So it's like they get to the call or they get to the thing that's like, okay, let's get down to business. And nothing's normal for people right now. So even something as simple as before the call starts or before you're, checking in and just kind of being like, how are you doing? Right? Like, how are things going? How are things going for you? What's it like in your city right now? Like, just something to basically let them know, like, they are human beings still to you, and that they're not just these like cash machines, right? Is one of those things that it's amazing how many people will not really kind of think about that, right? The other aspect is thinking about what are the other things that your clients need, right? So a lot of the time it's like we're doing the service for these clients, but they're basically on a timeline of the growth of their business, and there are other things that they're needing along that timeline. So better, as you're kind of having conversations with them and working with them, to start to think about, okay, if they're telling me that they're stressed out about, advertising, and I know a great, Facebook ads person or a great SEO person or whatever, being able to say like, hey, here's somebody who I think might be helpful during this time, or here's this book that I read that I thought was, really good. So always kind of looking at like, what are those other things along the timeline for them, to make sure that you're, adding in folks who are gonna support them and help them. And then, I think the other big thing is like really taking the time to understand like who they are and why they're doing what they're doing, and what they're about. And if there are things that they like, if there are things that they enjoy, going back to the spreadsheet, like you have that information. So if you're out and about and that someone's kid loves Peppa Pig, and you see a Peppa doll, or you see, it's like you can just sort of send them something that's thoughtful, right? Or let them know about some opportunity that they may not necessarily have heard about or seen, kind of dynamic. And it's really just taking the time to make sure that you're thinking about them and always thinking about what's going to make, going back to a lot of what we talked about before, it's like what's going to make them more successful. Because the more successful your clients are and the happier they are with their success, the more they're going to want to refer you, and the more they're going to want to talk about their experience with you. Because too many people just, they don't get treated like people. And this is, we're seeing this a lot right now in the pandemic, where it's like, there are companies that will like get on the phone with you and really like try to figure out what your situation is and do whatever they can to really help you. And then there are companies that are basically ignoring the fact that you're going through all of this, right? Yeah. And it's like, who are you going to remember at the end of this? Sure. And who are you going to want to give your money to, right?
Well, man, it's been great to have you on. Thank you for putting up with the tech stuff on the front end.
Oh, no worries.
Where can people, I mean, like I could go on and on, but I want to keep it somewhat short to keep the information packed. I want people to reach out to you and to get more. So I've sent people to Michael. He's great. He's very, very good at what he does. He's had success in 3 industries. And I just can't say enough good things about you, your brand, and what you stand for. So where can people go to connect with you besides your email address, which we'll post?
Sure. Yeah, no worries. So I have the podcast, which is accesstoanyonePodcast.com. And I also, my website is smallpondenterprises.com. And if you go on there, you can sign up for the daily email. There's, a bunch of other links and a bunch of other things. And I'll be working on some more stuff specifically around the referable brand, idea. And I'll be announcing some of that on the site as well.
Cool. You also do events. Now, I know you can't do them now, but eventually the world is going to open back up. And I really would like to go to one. And like, I love going to New York City. So I could easily see myself going to one when it's back.
Yeah.
So those seem to be good for you and good for the people that have come to them, small, I'll call them teaching events for me, learning events. So I want to give you a plug on that too.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. I'm always putting together different types of workshops and ways that people can sort of get to know each other. I've done scavenger hunts here in the city. I've done conferences. So always putting together something to just get really great people together, which is what I love to do.
Cool. Thanks again for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Have a question? Want to get in touch with us? Need some help and advice with your finances? Just go to coolmoneyshow.com and reach out to us. That's coolmoneyshow.com.
Krane Financial Solutions is an SEC-registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products. No investment decision should be made based solely on any information provided herein. We do not provide legal, accounting, or tax services. We recommend that all investors seek out the services of competent professionals in any of the aforementioned areas. Certain information provided has been obtained from third-party sources that we believe reliable. However, it's not been independently verified and is not guaranteed.